when a person experiences learned helplessness in some area of their life, then in that area of their life, they are going to perceive that they have no ability to control the things that are necessary in order to have the changes that they want. They will feel powerless, frustrated, discouraged, disappointed. And now there may be very many variations on how a person will have their particular take on it, but it will be some kind of thing in that general ballpark. And so again, everybody's going to have their particular flavor of this. Not everybody's, it's not going to be a one size fits all kind of experience. Not everybody's going to, uh, be like the dog whining and whimpering. It's not necessarily going to be like that, but there's going to be something, the essence of it is a sense that there's nothing that I can actually do that will help me when it comes to this. Now, just think about it. There's got to be something in your life where you feel that way, probably multiple things. And if that's not clear to you, then rather than just dismiss it out of hand and say, oh, this doesn't apply to me, I invite you to just consider, just keep an open mind and contemplate over the coming hours, days, weeks. What are those things in life where I may perceive that I'm powerless to produce the change that I want? For some people, it might be in terms of their money. I know a lot of people struggle with money. Obviously, not everybody, but for the people who struggle with money, then oftentimes they've tried lots of things, and yet they just keep coming back to the sense of I can't seem to figure it out. And therefore, it must be that for whatever reason, I just can't do it, right? Like maybe other people can do it, but I can't. So maybe it's because there's something wrong with me. Maybe it's because it's a cruel joke. Maybe whatever the reasons might be, but there's something that's beyond my ability to cause the change that I desire. For some people, it's relationships. And this can show up in so many different ways, right? I mean, so sometimes for some people, they feel like they are stuck in a relationship, whether that's with their parents or their lover or their children or their whoever, boss, right? So it could be personal, professional, any kind of relationships where people perceive that they're stuck, like they just can't make the change. And it could be things that are overtly abusive, right? I mean, that's obviously a known phenomenon where people stay in overtly abusive relationships and they feel like there's nothing they can do. But it doesn't have to be overtly abusive. It could be more subtle than that. But nonetheless, the person, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily abusive. It's just maybe not good or right for the person. And yet they just feel like they are powerless to really produce a change. And this can, the thinking around this can vary wildly. So some people, their thinking might be, uh, well, I deserve it anyway. I'm no good. I'm worthless. And for other people, they may be very clear, I don't deserve this at all. Nobody deserves this. This is no good. I can't make any change. Even if I tried to make a change, it wouldn't work out. Nothing would work out for me, right? And many other variations. So could show up in relationships, could show up in health. Health is another big one where people have challenges where they feel powerless, right? They say, well, I've tried so many things and none of them work for me. I've tried all the things and either I believe that I've really tried them earnestly and they just don't work for me, or I just can't seem to really make any of them work, right? It's like I know if I would just follow through, if I wasn't just so lazy, or if I was, if I had the willpower or whatever it is that it takes, if I had that, if I wasn't just fundamentally flawed, I'd be able to have a real success with these things, but I can't because there's such something wrong with me. It can show up in any area of life, whatever that might be. So for some people, it's in terms of their creative expression. They feel like they just can't. They're terrified for a variety of reasons. For some people, they're terrified of being exposed. Maybe they have a real desire to express themselves and to share that in a larger way, but they feel absolutely terrified of expressing themselves and being exposed. And so, however it shows up, this could show up in so many ways in your life because it could show up in any domain. if you think about it, so how does it come about? I mean, hopefully most of us were never put in cages and shocked with fake buttons that don't really do anything. That would be bizarre if that happened. So hopefully that didn't happen to you. But if you think about it, how many of us have not experienced things in our lives that are kind of like that, where we are put into some kind of container and we don't like something about it, but we feel as though there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, kind of by definition, that's how most of us experience a lot of the things in our lives. I mean, like the culture that many of us find ourselves in is kind of like that. The culture is kind of like a container that you feel like you really don't have a way to change. So there you are, you just kind of stuck. And so those are the circumstances that are very likely to result in learned helplessness. Now, I should say that not everybody is going to learn helplessness given the same circumstances, because it's not the circumstances that dictate the learned helplessness. It's actually the learned helplessness is when the individual concludes there's nothing I can do. I am powerless. So the circumstances can make that more or less likely for a person to come to that conclusion, but the circumstances don't have the power to dictate what a person will come to believe within themselves. So learned helplessness is not merely a function of circumstance. Not everybody who comes into this world, not everybody who is subject to a particular culture will learn helplessness as a result.